Headphone highlights. Like I was saying, it's been a hot minute since we've done one live, but feel like this is an interesting one to be able to kind of jump back into. So I mentioned before that this new kind of wild card category that we're in is I'm going to be featuring headphones that are just interesting and just kind of in general neat and cool, not necessarily headphones that I might always recommend, not necessarily headphones that I consider to be super high end audiophile quality, just cool headphones that are neat. I'm going to strive to have the majority of this stuff be, you know, the kind of thing I would recommend for people, but it might not always be that way. That being said, our headphone today is a very interesting one. To unplug it for now. These are... Ta-da! These are SWAN headphones. Specifically, these are the HiVi AW85s. They are a... what do you call it? Active noise canceling Bluetooth headphone. We have not looked at any noise canceling Bluetooth headphones on our headphone highlights yet. This is the first one. And it's a weird one. I doubt many of you have ever heard of this thing. But SWAN, you may have heard of. SWAN is a speaker company. And they make some pretty decent speakers. Most of them are fairly affordable. They look really nice, and they are able to sometimes produce pretty decent sound. So that's more what they're known for. They're not really known for headphones, but here we go. In your typical kind of Bluetooth headphone fashion, the objective with these is to be a very kind of take on the plane, take on the train, traveling Bluetooth noise canceling headphone. This is actual active noise canceling, not just passive noise isolation. We've talked about the distinction before, but just to reiterate, a headphone that has passive noise isolation, not canceling, but passive noise isolation, is a headphone that is closed and that has a good enough fit that it kind of seals the sound around your ear. There's no active technology in the headphone that is trying to eliminate noise. Active noise canceling headphones do have technology built into them to try to actively remove noise. That's what these have. They have active noise canceling. There is tech in this that is specifically designed to try to eliminate background noise. There's your difference. So yeah, let's just kind of take a little tour of how they look physically. They look really interesting. So this is a very mostly plastic build. The whole shell here, these are a very closed headphone. This whole shell is plastic. But as you notice, the shell on the cup here is actually really bizarre. Like it kind of pops out like a freaking spaceship. Like this weird sci-fi alien stuff. I could not tell you why it does that. I don't know. Maybe there's a reason, maybe there's not. I don't know. But on either side, this little shield right here, for whatever reason, just pops out, and it looks like something from, I don't know, Star Trek or something. It's wild. It's interesting. But yeah, it's a very lightweight headphone. It's really your kind of typical higher end build quality of a Bluetooth headphone. It's good plastic. It's high quality plastic. The headband is more plastic, but there is a metal adjusting. The metal? It might not be metal. I don't think it is. I think it's just really robust plastic to adjust the size of the headband. Has a nice satisfying click for that adjustment. Otherwise, it's pretty basic. It does swivel in and out a little bit, and also it will lay perfectly flat if, for whatever reason, you might need it to. It has very narrow pads I have to assume this is a design that helps with the noise cancellation. The markings on here, by the way, is makeup markings. These are actually my wife's headphones. We got these for her. But she, let's just say she gave them to me, and we'll kind of talk about that later on. But yeah, they got these nice protein leather pads, which are very soft. They're very, very, very soft pads. They're not the thickest pads, but they're manageable. Nothing to really complain about. They're really plush. They're really nice. Looking at the way that her makeup has kind of gotten in here, I would think that these are probably the kind of protein leather pads that will, after extensive use, probably start peeling. So that's not ideal. But that's also fairly standard. It's not common to find a headphone that doesn't have that kind of situation. Wiznoid, how's it going? You are in time for a headphone highlight. Thank you for stopping by. Those openings don't look wide enough for my ears. Yeah, they look really small, right? The pads. When we get to comfort, we'll talk about it. But yeah, it's a very, very narrow. I can't even do a 2-knuckle separation between the width here. It's just kind of like a knuckle and a half wide, but a good solid 2.5, almost 3-knuckle high. Still a very small pad. But it is definitely an over-ear pad. It's not an on-ear pad. So yeah, the pads are fairly standard for this type of Bluetooth noise-canceling headphone. It's got lots of buttons and doodads all over it. Show you there. You got stuff for your, next track, previous track, play, pause. Turn the active noise cancellation on and off. Turn on your Bluetooth. You have unfortunately, it's a mini USB. Or is it micro? I don't remember. The dumb one. It has the mini micro USB charging port. It's not USB-C, unfortunately. It also does have a it's a 2.5mm audio port. So you could, and as I have been doing throughout this playthrough, you can play these wired. They do not have to be Bluetooth, but they do have a built-in amplifier in these so that you can play the Bluetooth and be able to power them fairly well on whatever you have. The top of the headband does have some comfort cushioning. It is just a silicone. Come on. Yeah, it's just silicone up here. It's just kind of soft and squishy a little bit. It's almost like an air pocket more than anything else. It's not foam. There's no memory foam in there. There's no comfort foam. It's just a silicone pad that is a little squishy. And that's it. That's all I got for the headband. And there it is. Okay. Kind of weird, kind of interesting. But this headphone is kind of its own little ecosystem, which is interesting. Kind of what I'm getting at here is, yes, there's an app for it. I'll load it up and show you later. And you can use the app to kind of make little adjustments and adjust some of the tuning, adjust some of the sound, whatever. I have to a problem I have with the freaking app is every time you open it, you have to sync the headphone again. It's really obnoxious. But also I have to have the freaking headphone on. Yeah, it's really annoying, but I'll go ahead and do this really quick. When you power on, there's this lovely little chime that lets you know it's been powered on. I'll tell it to connect. Okay, so now I'll just do a quick tour of the app here. It's super, super simple. There's not a lot to talk about with this thing. You have 3 windows. The first window is your active noise cancellation. You have a couple different versions of it based on how extreme you want the active noise canceling to be. All the way to the right here is full tilt, and that's flight mode is what they call it, so if you're on a plane. But they also got a commute mode for when you're on a train, a outdoor mode when you're outside, an indoor mode when you're inside, and then off. So it's really just levels of how intense you want the noise cancellation to be. I did not particularly find that the middle settings were very useful. They're just a little like, okay, fine, I guess. So basically, just set it to on or off. I will say that the active noise cancellation is pretty decent. I was really surprised because if it's not a Bose headphone, is this playing music? It is. If it's not a Bose headphone or a Sony headphone that is noise canceling, you're almost hardly ever going to hear about it. And I was very surprised that the noise cancellation on this is actually fairly decent. I was listening, I had it at work today, and it was a decently loud day at work. And I put that noise cancellation on and everything just went dark. And there wasn't a lot of background noise either. There wasn't a lot of like white noise humming that you usually get with noise canceling. So that was nice. I like it. The noise cancellation is pretty good. Your wife has a pair of noise canceling headphones. They're Bose. Yeah, the Bose ones are excellent for that. And, you know, this whole genre of headphone, the ones you're going to see all the time. Why are you still playing music? Whatever. Are Bose and Sony, but it's cool that there are other options. Okay, moving on. So there's your noise cancellation panel. We'll swipe over. Now we have an ambient sound panel. I don't really know what this is doing. It's not what it sounds like. It's not really that it's like increasing the ambient noise around you so that you can hear while you're wearing the headphones, which is what you probably imagine when you look at this. But it more kind of seems like it's either just turning the noise cancellation off or back on. There's a little bit of like picking up some of your surroundings, but it's not super noticeable. And as you can see, you have kind of an infinite amount of adjusting here. But honest to God, I really can't really tell you what it's doing. It kind of seems like it's either I'm getting some ambient or I'm not getting ambient. So there's that if you really need that. We go again and we have an incredibly simple EQ. You have a couple settings to choose from. Basic flat is your monitoring setting. You have a pop setting, a hi-fi setting, a rock setting. Come on, there you go. And a jazz setting. And then you can, if you really wanted to, there is a custom setting where you can adjust a couple things here and there. It's not the most accurate or intuitive kind of thing. You can really go a little nuts with it if you want to. But you're only adjusting like a very basic level of the frequency. You're not making huge changes. And that being said, listening to all of them, I really recommend just leaving it on monitor. Because the others the presets don't hardly change anything at all. And then the custom just like is so difficult to really fine tune. It's just, I don't really bother with it. And that's it. That's all you get with the app. You have your noise canceling, your ambient sound, and then your equalizer, and that's it. So, okay, cool. We have an app for our headphone. Great. What I think is even more interesting than the app, though... Turn off. Thank you. Oh, I will also mention that it does have a little sensor in here. You can probably see that right there at the bottom. There you go. Yeah, that little sensor is what indicates if you are wearing the headphones or not. So if you take them off, it will pause your music for you, and that's nice. But what's really cool about them, that is kind of the selling point for them, at least for me, this is why I bought them, because I'm like, oh, that's cool, is you get a headphone stand with it. But this headphone stand is pretty cool. You take a look at this and, oh, you got a little pad down here. That's probably a charging pad, right? Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, I think it is a charging pad, but that's not what's cool about it. You're thinking, oh, what? You just kind of hang it up here. That's kind of weird. It's like a weird little round part. That doesn't seem like that fits very well. That's because that's not where you put the headphone. Check it out. Snap. Magnets. They're magic. They're just floating there. Cool, right? Snap. Bam. It's super neat. And this is how you charge them. Haha. Cool, right? You snap it on, and it just kind of floats there elegantly, magically, futuristically. And as it's connected with that magnet, this has a little, USB port, so you could plug this into your wall, and then this little ring up here will light up. It's not the strongest magnet in the world. This little ring up here will light up, and that'll indicate to you that you are now charging your headphone. So that's pretty cool. Smooth jazz and reviews of headphones is pretty hot, not gonna lie. Why, yes, it is. Also, hi, Madman. How you doing, man? Good to see ya. Future is too much for me. It's the future, man. Whoa. So yeah, this is the selling point for me for this headphone, really. Just on a very superficial level. This is cool. I mean, it's just kind of a gimmick, but it's really neat. I think it's cool. Yeah, it's pretty cool, right? Yeah. And it makes for a really nice, put it on your bookshelf. It's like a little art piece. It's cool. It's nice. So yeah, that's kind of the ecosystem you get. You get this neat little headphone stand that will charge your headphones, and also you get the free app, which you could do a little bit of tweaking with. So that's the interesting bit about this headphone. That's what's interesting about it. So we went over the build, we went over the ecosystem. Let's talk about some comfort. The headphone adjustment is pretty forgiving. I have it, if I put it all the way. Oh my gosh, it's loud. I thought I turned this off. Oh no, I'm killing myself here. Stop. Turn off. There we go. Oh my god. Anyway, I take back what I said. I just said that the head adjustment's really forgiving. It's kind of not. I have this now set to the maximum setting for adjustment. It cannot get any larger than it is right now. And I put this on, and it works for me. This feels fine. But if my head was any bigger, I'd be kind of screwed. So that's unfortunate. If you have a smaller head, fine, it can size back down. But if you have a bigger head than what I do right now, because this is literally maxed out, I mean, I don't know, you're not going to have a whole lot of options. Because, yeah, the pads are on there, and I do feel the top of the headband on my head. It's not like anything's loose. Nothing feels loose right now. So that's something to keep in mind. They're not meant for people with super ridiculously large heads. I have a fairly large head, but nothing ridiculous. At least I don't think so. So yeah. Otherwise, the ears. So we looked at these pads and we're like, hey, those look really, really small. How is that actually working? It's a little weird, but you kind of have to tuck your ear in there. I'm kind of taking the back of my ear here, and I'm literally pushing it against the wall of the pad and tucking it in there. That's really the only way to get it to fit. I can't just do that. Now my ear is it's like getting pushed in weird ways, and it's really uncomfortable. I have to bring it behind my ear, kind of scoop my ear like that, and then kind of wiggle it on. So that's kind of strange, but once it's on, it's pretty nice. For the ear feel is pretty good. There is a pretty decent amount of clamp force, which you shouldn't be too surprised of, because again, these are noise canceling headphones, so there has to be a pretty dang good seal here. And I'd say that the seal is pretty good. I do not have the active noise cancellation on right now, so I'm just listening to the passive noise isolation, and it's pretty good. My voice is very muffled. I can only barely hear the fan behind me. So it's a good seal. It's a really decent seal. If I had the noise cancellation on, I would not be able to hear anything at all. So it's a good seal. And the pads are very, very soft, so they feel pretty comfortable on the side of my head here. Even with that clamp force. The clamp force is a little bit much. And really where I'm feeling the clamp force is right at the bottom more than anywhere else. And that isn't too big of a deal, but it is getting a little bit close to my jawline here. My jawline's right here, and the pad's right there too. So it's like, I mean, a centimeter off. If I talk and move my mouth really, really big, I can kind of feel it rubbing against it. So that's not the best feeling in the world, but it's also just not that bad. Ideally, you're probably not having a long chit chat if you're wearing these things because you can't hear who you're talking to. Where the comfort gets an issue is in the headband. And this is why these are now my headphones and not my wife's headphones. This silicone cushioning up here is just not enough. And unfortunately, it's a rounded shape. This will be hard to see on the camera, but if you look here, this is round. It kind of has this sort of shape to it. The problem with a shape like that is that it makes for a point. As rounded as the point may be, it's still a point, right? Does that make sense? You have something round, my Twitter pros here, something round, wherever it's touching is a point. See, right there at the bottom where my fingers are touching it? That's a point. It's not being evenly distributed over my head. It's not being evenly distributed over my finger or whatever. It's a kind of a sharp point. And that's not very comfortable. When I have these on the maximum size setting, it doesn't bother me all that much, but I'm not bothered by top fatigue all that much. My wife, however, is, and she cannot stand wearing these. She can't do it. She hated it. In fact, I don't have it here. Oh, I planned to do this and I forgot, but I'll do my best to kind of replicate this for you. We tried to find a way to like modify these things so that it would be more comfortable for her. And the only thing that we were able to do that ended up being a decent enough solution for her to be able to wear these comfortably was, you know, those little like portable packets of like Kleenex tissues you can get at the dollar store or whatever. 2 of those, one on each side of your head right here. It looked ridiculous, but it was basically like, if you can imagine this being one of those package of Kleenexes, we had one tied here and here, and she'd wear it with just like this giant stupid Kleenex bag on the side of her head like this, and it was comfortable. Like, that worked. That did it for her. It looked ridiculous, but that's what we had to do to make these comfortable for her. I found it really endearing, and we still talk about it. It's funny for us, but at the time, you know, she was pretty upset that these just were not comfortable enough for her. And then again, that's why I have them now, because she can't stand wearing them without some Kleenex to cushion the way. So yeah, the headband is kind of the failing point of the comfort. So that's unfortunate. In terms of our comfort cloud system, with all this in mind, I'm sure my wife would rate these damn near 0 because she really disliked the comfort. I'm not going to go that harsh on it because for me it's not terrible, but it is pretty bad. So I'm going to say these are probably a 4, maybe 4.5 clouds of comfort. That is I'm pretty sure the lowest score of comfort we've given a headphone so far. And I'm sorry, Swan. I'm sorry that I had to do that to you. But, I mean, this is just... It's not great. And, you know, while these are not very heavy headphones, they are heavy enough that having this now basically sharp edge of not super soft silicone touching and pushing down on top of my head, it's not comfortable. It's not great. So yeah, the comfort's a bit of an issue. The sound. So these are very, very susceptible to having their sound signature change depending on your source, to a really big degree. The Bluetooth is okay. They sound pretty decent with the Bluetooth. But when you have them wired, that's where you get a lot of difference. Playing these wired on my computer at work, just having plugged directly into my computer's onboard audio card, terrible. They sounded terrible. Like, I mean, tinny, awful, veiled. Couldn't possibly recommend them for sound with it plugged in wired at my office. Plugging them Bluetooth into my phone at work, it helped a lot. It improved it a lot. They still were suffering from some veiling and some distortion. The low end was fairly distorted, and the treble range was pretty rough. Kind of got a little sharp in some areas. Nowhere near as bad as it was when it was plugged into my computer at work. But it's even with the Bluetooth on my phone, it's still a little bit sharp. And the vocals feel like they're being covered up by something. They just feel like they're being veiled. They sound distant and they sound just kind of muffled. So the Bluetooth helped, but it still doesn't sound super great. The low end was fairly punchy, and you know, that was nice. What made it work the best running a Bluetooth is Bluetooth with the active noise cancellation on. Having the active noise cancellation off made everything sound a lot more tinny and a lot more distorted. Having the active noise cancellation on seemed to kind of control it a little bit more. It made it sound a lot more natural. It evened out your bass range and evened out your treble range, and it brought the mid range forward a little bit more, and it made the vocals a bit more intimate. So the best way to run these, unless you have an external power source, is Bluetooth them with the active noise cancellation on. That being said, if you do have a really decent amp and DAC on your desktop, that will make them sound a hell of a lot better. Listening to these on my A90, my A90 discrete here, they sounded so much better than they did Bluetooth, and absolutely astronomically worlds apart from how they sounded on my home office computer. When they're plugged into the A90, so much more clear. The bass range is very impactful and punchy. It's got some really decent extension. It does bleed a little bit. It does have a bit of rumble into the mid-range, but it's not terrible. And the mid-range is way more forward. Vocals are way more clear and way more resonant. The presence for your vocals is significantly better. And the treble range was fine. It wasn't hitting any super high crazy notes and fatiguing me and making me like wince like it was before. The detail wasn't great, wasn't best detail, but it was a hell of a lot better than it was Bluetooth, and worlds better than it was just plugged into my office computer. So that's what's interesting about them. The sound changes a lot depending on the source. I did not dare to try these on tubes. I feel like that would not end well. But I don't know. Maybe they do sound great on tubes. But yeah, the sound is okay. It's all right. For a Bluetooth headphone, generally, active noise cancellating Bluetooth headphones have the problem of not sounding very good. You know, something like your Bose and your Sonys are kind of like the top end of the best sound you can probably get from a Bluetooth audio noise cancellating headphone, and anything else is just kind of like it's trying to fit somewhere and it just kind of can't. I feel like this is trying to approach more the kind of Sony and Bose level of audio, but it just doesn't have the performance for it. So yeah, the sound quality is okay, but really they're only really listenable to a very kind of clinical and enjoyable way if you have your own dedicated deck and amp, which kind of defeats the purpose for a Bluetooth headphone, unfortunately. So yeah, they're very cool, they're very neat, they just, you know, could sound better and really they should be more comfortable. So there you have it, the SWAN I think it's HiVi. It's HIVI, like hi-fi but high-V. So the SWAN HiVi AW85s, they're cool. They're definitely not the best Bluetooth audio canceling headphone that you can get. There are absolutely better options, but they're okay. What's the price? Well, that's a little hard to say. Let me see if I can find a more recent version of these things, because the listing price right now on Amazon for this model is $400. Do not buy these for $400. Oh my God, don't do that. They are not worth $400. I don't remember exactly how much we paid for these. I think they were around $150. I don't know why Amazon has them for $400. That's ridiculous. I can only think it's because they're maybe a bit more rare now. They're a little maybe out of print, out of production. But I believe there's a newer model out right now. In fact, watch, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to close the app, because when I go to open the app again, it's going to make me reconnect. And, oh. What? Oh, okay. That's really confusing. So there are two generations of this thing. They have the exact same model number. That sucks. I'm not entirely sure how you would tell the difference. These are, I'm pretty sure, Generation 1. Generation 2, it looks like, has maybe a like icon right here, it says HiVi, rather than it being down here. But I'm not seeing that on Amazon at first glance. If I find a link to it at a price that I think is reasonable, I'll put it in the video description when I upload this to YouTube. But yeah, do not buy these for $400, please. It's ridiculous. Are they worth it? If you are really, really sold on this, maybe, because this is cool. But in terms of just like the headphone itself, the audio performance of it, and the capability of its audio noise cancellation. The noise cancellation is decent, but the sound performance is a little of that. So there are other options, and we're going to be talking about them in the coming future. So you can look forward to that. If you're not sure if this is a good sell, maybe some of the other Bluetooth headphones we talk about will be a better sell for you. So there's that. There's your headphone highlight. Thank you, Swan, for attempting at this. Try again, because I like the ecosystem. I like this. This is cool. Just make them sound good and make them comfortable. That's all I ask. It's not the moon. I want the moon. All right. That's that.